right, so my name is Kate with Scott Leroy Marketing. Today we are going to go over print marketing in Command. With that, we're going to take a look at creating a flyer in Command, as well as take a look at that listing presentation and how to edit and use that. So the first thing we want to do is make sure we are logged into Command. To access Command, you'll go to agent.kw.com and log in with those username and password. Once you're in here, though, your home screen may look slightly different from mine, and that is okay. These are somewhat customizable, so things can be moved around or turned off to customize those. But without further ado, the first thing we want to do is we want to go into the designs section of Command. Now, if you're not familiar with these applets on the left-hand side, you can hit the red and white KW to expand that and view what each of those are. You can also just hover over them. They will tell you the name. Designs is going to look kind of like a paintbrush with a canvas behind it. So we're going to go ahead and start there. Now, this is another location where your command may look slightly different from mine. If you have not yet created any designs within Command, you may not see anything here. We are first going to take a look at the import option. So we're going to go ahead and click Import Design. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that all of our assets that we may be utilizing for our design are within our Command account. So we are going to go over to the Assets section. The assets allow you to create custom colors, fonts, photos, etc. that will be there for all of your designs as you're creating them. It just makes things a little bit easier for you to create a little bit quicker. So you will notice at the top we have Keller Williams Realty Assets. Now, those are going to be Keller Williams International provided assets. So for example, if we click colors and fonts, you'll see that we have the KWRI provided color palette. So lots of the red and gray colors. You'll also see we have some font options down below that they've provided. If we click on images, this is where we can find some various different types of stock images. From market expert to miscellaneous, they have holiday photos, house exteriors. You can find all different sorts of stock images that you can use on your designs. Now, next is going to be text. For the KWR provided text, that is just going to be their ownership statement, stating that each office is independently owned and operated. You then have logos. Now, logos are going to be the KWRI provided logos. So you have Keller Williams University. You have events, which will include Red Day, luxury logos, miscellaneous logos, which are going to be your Equal Housing Opportunity and your NAR logo. You also have labs, KW logos. Now, those KW logos are going to be your generic KW logos. When we're down in My Assets, we'll take a look at how to find your market center specific logos. We also have elements. Elements are going to be similar to icons or symbols, little icons that you may use frequently on different types of marketing. So for example, if you are adding a email or phone number to your graphics very often, you may want a little symbol that shows phone number, cell phone, email, etc. They have the KWRI provided videos, which they currently do not have any. And then they have the files, which is going to include their style guide and their design addendum. Now, moving on from the KWRI provided, we have My Assets. Now, this is where you can create your own color palette. So for example, if you are branding yourself and you want to be consistent with all of your marketing, you may want to create a color palette that you're using every single time you're creating a design. If you want to add a new color palette or remove one, as you can see, I just delete those. We can click Add Palette though. From there, we can rename that. We'll do a pink palette today. And then you can click on these little plus signs and start to find your colors. And you can pick those out and add them. And as you find a color, you just leave your little dot on it and save it. If you had a design as well that already had colors, so let's say you've already created a logo, you can use the little dropper to also grab that color from somewhere else if you wanted to use that as well. So we'll just grab white for this one. Grab another. We're just going to grab as many as we can to fill these out. We'll do a black one too. Whoops. And again, you get to you get the idea, but you get to pick whichever colors you would like and add them here. Again, this is just an easy way for you to be able to easily find those colors and use them on all of your marketing so that your marketing is, again, consistent. You can also set your own different types of fonts if you like those. You can upload fonts or click the web fonts to find different types of fonts. Once you find one that you like, you could just turn it on by clicking the little marker next to it. And once you add that, it will show up here. As you can see, it is the top one. Now, next we have images. This is where you can add your various logos or your various headshots that you may use. You can even remove backgrounds from them like this here. If you needed to remove a background, you could just click the three little dots and remove, and it will do that straight from within command. So you'll see that it's added a new photo. Yes, the background was already gone, but if it did have one, it would remove that. You can also create folders if you have other people that work for you or vendors that you use often, and you use them on any type of marketing. You could also create a folder and add their information into that. Now, next is going to be your text. So this is going to be different types of text that you may be using often. For example, if you're typing out your branded URL for your app every time, or if you want to have your social media links available. Any of that type of information that you're pulling into your designs often, it would be a great idea to have those added here so you could easily pull them in instead of having to type out all of that. Now, next is your logos. You'll see that we have a few different options here. We also have some folders. So if you're wanting to add your Market Center specific logos, we can do that by going to KW Connect. And once that loads, now, once we're in KW Connect, we can go to Resources and down to Marketing. And then once we're on Marketing, we can click on this Logos and Branding section. Now from there, we can scroll down just a little bit till we get to a search bar. So you can see that is right here. So I'm just going to type in a number. We're going to do 945 today. You'll see that I have the Market Center number, Market Center name. I can preview that logo, make sure that's the correct one I'm looking for. And I can also download that folder. Now, when I download that, it's just taking a little second here for it to finish downloading, but we can go ahead and open that. Now, if we find our folder, you'll notice we have a few different folders within there. If we check out the CMYK and we change the view of this so you guys can see what those look like, you'll see that we have a few different options for logos. And this one doesn't have as many as others, but generally they'll have a couple different color options of this logo. There also have some that have a transparent background and some that don't. Now, this is a great example because not every office offers all of the different logo variations. Let's go back and see if they have the different options here. Now for the black and white, you can see there's a few more options. They have the black and white with a white background. They also have the different color options with a transparent background. Now usually you'll see something similar to this when you're looking at the colored ones, but again, not every office offers all of the different color formats. So if your office does not, you would just want to use whatever they have available. Let's go ahead and go back to our assets though and add these. So I'm going to create a new folder. And I'm just going to name it 1017 class for today. We're going to do save. Now, if I go into that folder, I can upload those logos from my computer by clicking on that. We'll go ahead and grab this one here. We'll also add more, and then we'll go back and grab those black and white options. That way I have all of the options available for whatever type of marketing I'm creating. So I'll have the different color options depending on what I'm using it for or what the background is, what logo would work the best for what I'm creating. And now I have those logos easily accessible so I can pull them into my designs. And again, you can create the various folders, or you can just add them here to your main one. Now, next is elements. Same thing as KWRI. If you had specific logos or icons that you wanted to add to use, you can add those here. Any videos you may have, these generally need to be public facing videos. And then if you had any PDF files that you wanted to have that you're using frequently, you can add those here as well. Now, those are the My Assets. Now that we've gone over that, let's go ahead and jump into the templates. So I'm going to go back to Command so we can see the other way to get there. So if we go back to Designs, and let's say we just want to hit Create Design. Now we get to decide what type of marketing we're creating. For today's class, again, we're going to focus on print. If you're interested in any of the others, you can certainly check out some of our other classes. We do cover most of those in greater detail. Now, once we click on that and continue, you'll see we're brought into My Projects. Now, sometimes you'll be brought into My Projects, sometimes you'll be brought into templates. I haven't quite figured out how it decides where it's going to bring you. But you can also see we can still get back to assets if we needed to update those. But templates is where we want to be right now. So you can see on the left-hand side, we have some categories. And within those categories, we have different subcategories. Determining what type of marketing you're creating, you'll want to know that before you jump in. But once you start clicking on these, you'll see there are a ton of different options. So if we're trying to create a price update flyer, under contract, whatever have you, you can find those here. We'll go ahead and I usually do an open house flyer. So we'll go ahead and pick one of those. Now, once I'm in the templates and I've selected the subcategory I'm interested in, you'll also notice at the top that there are some other little options. So this is a great way to make sure that the type of marketing you're looking at down here, the template, is the correct size for whatever you're creating. So if you're creating door hangers, if you're creating postcards, you'll want to make sure you're selecting the appropriate template. We're going to focus on flyers today. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that one. And then we'll just pick whichever one we like. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll just grab this one today. Actually, I'm going to do this one. See, it has an agent photo. Now, once we decide on our template, you'll notice we're brought into our WeBrand editor. This is where we can start customizing our flyer, make sure it looks how we want it to. The first thing we have over here on the left is templates. You can go back if you decide this is not the one you want to use. You can access images. Now, when we're doing that, you'll notice at the top there are stock images that you can view. There's also workspace. Now, if we click on workspace, you're going to notice as I scroll down, these are those stock images that we're showing when we were under the KWRI provided assets. So these are the same folders and photos that you could find there. Now, if we click My Assets, this is where you're going to find those photos that we added ourselves that we can start utilizing. Same for text. You'll notice they have Add New. So this is where you could add new text to the top of the design. You can find banners, which kind of look like stickers in my opinion. You also have workspace. This is going to be those KWRI provided assets. And then you have your own. Same for logos, KWRI, and then mine. You kind of get the idea. Some have other options though on top of the KWRI assets and yours. For example, this one has stock. You then have KWLS, which we're going to take a look at in just a second. And you also have animation. Now, animation is not something you'd want to use for a print marketing because when you're printing something, you can't apply animation. However, if you were doing a social image or something like that, you may decide to use some animation. Let's go ahead and start editing this. So if you want to zoom in, you certainly can. There's a little plus and minus sign down here. Just makes it a little bit easier for you to see your design. Let's start with the logo in the top corner. So when we click on that, you'll see that it switched me over to logos. Now I can pick from the KWR ones or go over to mine. We're going to go ahead and use the ones we added today. Now, when I'm clicked on the logo, I have the option of the double arrow, which is a replace image. If I'm not clicked on that, that goes away and it will allow me to add new, and that's going to add it to the top of the design. Now, if I want to replace just that photo there, I'd want to click on it and use the replace image. That will allow me to put that logo in that same space that was available. Now, as you can see, this logo is slightly different, so it may need customize a little. I'm actually gonna grab one of the other logos, the colored ones. Let's grab this one. You just want to make sure it fits in that space. You could also adjust that box since this logo is slightly differently shaped. You can adjust that box behind it so it fits in that space a little better. All right. Now, the next thing we want to do is edit the rest of our information here. So we, of course, want to add our listing photo instead. So if I click on the photo and I go down to the KWLS, I can then find my listing. So I can search by either the listing address, the MLS number, KWLS ID, the listing agent, or the co-listing agent. Now, I don't have a listing, so I am going to simply just search 123 Main Street, and we're going to grab one of the listings that come up. I made the street, so see if we get anything else. All right, we're just gonna grab one of these. We'll just go ahead and grab this one here. So now that I have that photo, I'm selected on it, I can go ahead and use that replace image. That's gonna put that photo in that exact same square. Now then I could play around and see which one I like the best, which one looks the best on that, or I could just stick with the front of the house. Now, if I want to readjust how that looks in that box, I can certainly double click on that and zoom in. We can cut out some of that background. Once I'm done and I have the photo cropped the way I would like, I can hit done. And as you can see, it has adjusted that for me. Now, if I want to start adjusting the other information for the property, like the address, I can click on listing details. And that's where I can then find those other details for that property. Now, keep in mind some of the information may not be exactly the same when you're looking at it. So this is 123 Main Street, Butler. This has a little bit more information. So you can, of course, replace that. And if you don't like that and you want the additional information, you can certainly just go ahead and double click. You can add the additional information. Or if you want to just remove some of it, you can edit that way as well. Whatever you'd like to do, I'm going to go ahead and go back and just leave it like this for now. Now for the beds in the bath and the square footage, if you come down, that information will be here as well. Now keep in mind, if you're going to select 2 bedrooms and you replace that, it's going to replace that with just that 2. So in these cases, sometimes it is better to, why is it doing that? There we go. Sometimes it is better to just click on that text and edit that. Now you can double click or you can use the typewriter up here. Now the typewriter will bring up a little box where you can adjust that information here. We'll go ahead and type this here. And then once I'm done, go ahead and hit that save button and it will adjust that for me as well. Now, same for the listing price. That's going to be up here as well. You can replace. It is going to put that US dollar. So again, if you don't want that, you can delete that. Up to you. Description, that should also be in here as well. Property description, you can replace. In some cases, it is too big, too long, and you may need to cut that down or trim it. But in this case, it does not need to, so we'll go ahead and leave it as is. We can change our date. Let's say this is this weekend. We will do October 20th. We'll leave it at 11 to 2. And then down at the bottom, we can adjust our photo as well. So to do that, we'll come to images. You can do the replace again. If you wanted to zoom in on your face a little bit, you wanted it to be a little bit closer, you can, of course, double click and adjust that again if you'd like. And then if there's any other information on here that you need to adjust, like your name and phone number, you'll want to adjust that. So we'll change this to Scott. I can never type when I'm teaching. We'll zoom in a little bit more so you guys can see that a little bit better. And then we will adjust this as well. So I'm just going to put Scott Leroy, marketing.com. And we'll leave the phone number. Now, as you can see, as I was filling that out and the text was getting longer, it is wrapping that onto a second line, but I can drag this and make that field a little bit bigger so that all of that fits on one. And then of course I can readjust it if I'd like to. Now on top of that, you can of course change the colors, change the text, whatever you'd like. So if we wanted to change the open house text to look a little different, we could do that here. Let's find something that stands out. Let's try one of these. Open house. We can even change all of the colors on these. I like to find my palettes and use those. So we can find our pink one, change that, change our text here, bright pink. Any of these boxes or text you can change as well. So any of that can be edited. You of course want to make sure it's still easy to read. Change our text here. Oops, we don't underline that. Now, you don't have to change any of this. This is just something like I said, I'm showing you how much you can customize these, make them your own. The templates are really just there to get you started. You can certainly edit or make any changes you'd like to those, as long as you are within compliance with your local rules and regulations. So you may want to double check with that. Sometimes with these templates, we get questions on these little designs over here. If you don't like those, you can certainly delete it. You can, of course, move it if you would like it to be a much smaller, whatever you want to do, but those can always be removed. I just like to point that out because, like I said, we do get questions on that from time to time. You could also, if you're wanting to print these flyers and have a QR code attached to them so they could scan that, you could, of course, add your photo for your QR code, whatever you'd like to do. So now that we're done editing our photo here, though, our flyer, we would then just want to download. And this can either be PDF standard or PDF for printing. PDF for printing is just going to give you those bleed lines around the side. I'm going to go ahead and leave it as standard. And we're going to go ahead and hit download. Now you'll see in the bottom left, it's downloading. It usually doesn't take too long for these, but then you can open that up. You can see it a little bit clearer. You can then print it, send it off somewhere if you'd like to have it printed outside of your office or home. Of course, I didn't edit these other two photos, but you can of course edit those as well by pulling in additional listing photos. I guess I could have done that. I just was moving right along. We can go back to those photos and grab any of these that we would like and just swap them out. Same as the other. But yeah, that is how we create our flyer. Once you're done and you want to save this, you can go ahead and hit done in the top right. That will make sure all of those changes are saved and bring you out into your design section. Now you'll see I immediately have that flyer where I can go back in, make any additional changes. Also, if I plan on using the same color scheme and fonts and everything for another open house, I can of course make a copy of this so that I don't have to necessarily edit that exact one. I could go in and make edits to the copy with the new house and things like that. So you always have that option as well. I'll go ahead and delete that one. But that is our flyer. I don't see any questions in the chat, so we will go ahead and keep going. The next thing we want to take a look at is that listing presentation. So again, I'm going to do create design. And from there, we're going to stick with print. And now that we are in our templates, we're going to take a look at the listing one. And that is going to be the listing presentation. So as you can see, there's a few different options when you're creating these. If you're looking for a buyer presentation as well, those are available under the buyer. They are very similar to the listing presentation. They just have a little bit different information, but in order to edit them, it's going to be the same process. So you'll be able to take what you learned today with this one and apply it to that. So when we're in here, we pick whichever one we like the most. They're very similar. They just have a little bit different style. So as you can see, as I'm hovering over this, it's kind of switching the pages. That's how I know that there is more than one page to a design. You'll also notice in the top left corner, it says 9+. If we were on a flyer that was not more than one page, like our open house, that's not available. And as I sit over the top of the design, it's not flipping through those. So that's how you'll know if there's more than one page. It will identify it in those two ways. So we'll go ahead and just hit use on this one. Celeste, how to print with a company? You should just be able to download your print and go to their website and upload, but that could depend on the company and their process to do that. So it is kind of a situational question, but you should, in most cases, be able to download and upload that for printing. Now that we are in, again, our WeBrand editor, you'll notice in the bottom right, I now have a pages box that has 29 pages. So over here, I can go through and view all of those various pages. I also have the 3 dots that will allow me to duplicate a page or delete it. I can also drag those if I need to rearrange them. When you are creating these listing presentations, you are going to be mindful about what you're keeping in here. So in many cases, this front cover, most people will remove. So I'm going to go ahead and delete. And the next page, you are 100% going to want to delete. This is a guide letting you know that this presentation is a template for you to customize. You do want to make sure that whatever you are keeping in here or editing in here applies to you in your business. Every realtor does business a little bit different, and you'll want to make sure whatever you keep in here is, something you are actually practicing in your business. So you want to make sure you go through every page and delete or edit anything that may not apply for you. Now, this is generally going to be your cover photo. So a custom consultation exclusively prepared for, and you put the client's name. We're going to put Scott on here today. Now you could add the photo if you have it. You can edit your photo here. We'll go to images and assets and swap out Scott. And we'll say this is Scott 2. You can then edit your other details down here. So you have your website. Now all of these are in one text box. So again, if you were to start to edit those with your assets, it would edit everything. So I'm just going to edit those one by one. Oh, I did that wrong. I put this here and it should not have been. Don't mind me, you guys. We'll leave kw.com and leave the phone number. We're going to go ahead and hit save changes. Now you'll see we do have our disclaimer here, a logo. This is where if you're on a team or you've branded yourself, you can also add those logos. So we'll go to mine. Go ahead and we're going to delete that one and we'll just add this one here. Just put it right next to it. Again, make sure you're following your compliance. In some states, I know your logos and the size of the logos is super important in comparison to office logos. And you want to edit all of your market center information. Now, if we go to our next page, let's see. So our next page is kind of just telling you your property, your transaction timeline. So this is just kind of like your table of contents. Our next one is 1050 Heather Lane. So this is the property that you're going for the listing consultation for. So you would want to edit that information, edit your photo if you have one, all of that. Our next one is the snapshot of the area. This will kind of give them an idea of what homes are listed for in that area, some other information. Now, if you're wanting to keep this snapshot here, this is another one that you can easily pull from the KWLS. So our other option is snapshot. So if we were to click that, and I'm just going to type Orlando here. Let's see what pulls up. And we'll just grab this one here. So you'd of course want to find the one that corresponds with your listing. But once I pull that, give it just a second, I have a couple of different options for snapshots. So you'll see that I have 3 different images I could use. Now the second one is going to be the same as the one here, but I have a couple other options. Now the information on these snapshots cannot be edited. So if you do not like the information pulling and need to create your own custom snapshot, you could do that in your designs and then download and upload that to add that. For today though, I'm just gonna go ahead and swap this one with that one to keep it there. Of course, again, you would want to edit all of this other information when you're creating this for a client. Next is going to be comparable properties. So you could include those on the sheet with their information and photos. You then have your needs come first. So this is kind of going over the process, more on the process. So if we zoom in on this, these are things that you would want to go through and make sure these all apply to you and your business. So if one of them did not apply, you would want to make sure you could delete that. We'll go ahead and we'll delete that and we'll edit this, remove that one. But again, you would want to customize these to make sure all of it follows your specific process for your business. Next is the marketing plan. Finding your buyer. Best-in-class promotional assets. So this is just going to highlight that you have, command, and it can do a lot of the different marketing for you. Your media plan, so property brochures, just listed, postcards, coming soon, open house, etc. So it's going to go over all of that various marketing and media that you can create. Your strategic promotion, so coming soon campaign, just listed campaign. Again, can never emphasize enough, make sure that anything you're keeping on here does apply to you and how you run things. Our next one, your open house strategy. Again, any of these photos, colors, texts, all can be edited, removed, or added to. It's all in the details. So this is going to go over yard signs, your listing amplified door knocking, high quality professional photography, or if you're offering videography, mass mobile marketing, all of the things that you can do within Command. Real experience, real expertise. So this is going to go over how long you've been in the business, clients, things like that. You also want to make sure in this specific page you edit your information over here. So photo, title, name, your credentials, if you have any or do not. Make sure that DBA is replaced. And if you're a newer agent and you don't necessarily have all of this information, you can certainly remove what you don't have for now and just come back and add it back in later. The proof is in my numbers. So generally in a lot of cases, sometimes some of these numbers on these 2 papers right here, pages here, you can get some of that information from your market center and really highlight how your office is doing as a whole if you are a new agent. Next, credentials and awards. These are going to go over some of KW's. However, if you have any of your own, you could certainly add those. Leading in the industry. So this just kind of goes over KW as a whole. Your portfolio of excellence, another one where if you're a newer agent, you may not have all of these, or you may only want one page, kind of up to you. If you have any featured listings you would like to highlight in here. These are going to be some testimonials from past clients, so you can certainly add those as well. Your promise to them. Then you have selling safely, which is just going to go over some information. The bottom line. Then you also have your app. This is another great place that if you do have an app QR code or you'd like one created, we're happy to do that for you. If you email us, we can create a QR code for your app. This is a great place to add that instead of a link. That way they don't have to type it out. They could just scan it. And then the very last page of the listing presentation is going to be just your information. Now, once you've edited all of these pages and everything is how you want it, you can then download that. Again, you can do it the same way, PDF or print. We're going to go ahead and leave it. Now, this is a great place where if you did not want to delete those extra pages, but you're not using them just yet, you can certainly come in here and remove them. So for example, if you didn't have all of these past listings that you wanted to highlight, you can certainly remove those and just download without. And I didn't mean to click out of that, so let's go back. And we can download that way. And again, you'll see over here on the left-hand side, it is downloading PDF with this many pages. Generally does take a little bit longer, so we'll give it a minute to load. And I'm just going to check the question in the chat really quick. Oh, you're welcome. If there are any questions, you guys feel free to drop those in. This class usually doesn't last a full hour, so we'll have time at the end for questions as well. Now we have our PDF here. We can view all of those pages, make sure everything is good, and then we can print that again in Office, send it off to be printed. However you would like to do that, you have both of those or any of those options, however you would best like to print it. Some people like to get them as a bound booklet or put them in a folder, whatever you want to do. The last thing I like to highlight with this type of presentation, though, is the share button. If you click that share button and you change this to make sure it says anyone with the link and copy that link, you open that in a new browser. It will give you a digital booklet of your listing presentation. Now, the reason I like to highlight this is because I don't know about you guys, but if I am given any type of packet, pamphlet, flyer, whatever, I am going to be the first to lose it, throw it in the trash, or misplace it. Or someone will color on it in my house. But I like to have a digital booklet. So a great way to send this to your client after your listing presentation as a follow-up would be to send this as a digital booklet. They can then view all of those pages that were provided. They can also download it again. They cannot make any edits to that. I know it says edit, but they're only able to edit that if they had logins to Command. So do not worry. They cannot make any edits or changes to that. But it is just a great way to provide them with that digital packet. Now keep in mind when you are sharing that, if the pages were not printed, but they were remaining in the listing presentation, they will be shared. So you would want to physically delete those if you did not want those included in this specific case. But now that we're all done, we can go ahead and head down. Nelson, I hope that my question this answered your question. You can kind of do it as this. There's not a way to make it into a actual PowerPoint outside of the share button here that makes it a digital booklet. All right, guys, that is our class for today. I am going to hang around, so if there are any questions, definitely stick around with me. If you don't have any questions, thank you so much for joining today. I hope you learned something from this, and I hope we'll see you for another class.